Good day, everyone. This is your host, Vance here. It's been a great pleasure to meet all our participants, or rather, all the audience as well. It's a fabulous Wednesday, right? Nowadays, of course, the podcast name is called Kopi with Vance, but fortunate and unfortunately, I'm drinking more water nowadays because we are perspiring, and the climate change is extremely too serious right now. Okay, just like a blanket that is cover around our world. All the vacuum, or rather the heat is not penetrating out, so rather we are getting baked. But that's aside, so we all should be drinking water, tons and tons of liters of water, right? Thank you for joining me today at Kopi Events. And as usual, every Wednesday, 9 p.m., we are going live. And today, the topic is about dealing with addictions. And that's right. I mean, we have covered a lot of mental health topics over the past 4 years, and 300 to 400, over 400 of videos in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Today will be SB Viknesan will be joining us. He's an addictions specialist. There's a lot of questions to ask him. If you do have any questions that you want to engage Vic, please feel free to type it out at the comment section, and definitely I will take that questions for yourself and represent Vic to explore more of these answers coming from an expert itself. If you're watching this, we are live in all social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram as well, and TikTok as well, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you're seeing this, press the share and like button. You never know who this video or podcast may go to and be helpful. Without further ado, let me invite SB Vic. Hi, Vic.
Hi, Vance.
How
Nice
are
to
you
be
there, Vic?
all good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for joining me at Kopi with Vance. Like I always tell all my guest speakers who take their time off, apart from resting and spending time with the family. I mean, you have dedicated, even though it's only 1 hour, but that 1 hour can be done so many things, right? Thank you so much for joining me at Kopi with Vance, and you're more than willing to share all your expertise about addiction preventions and dealing with addictions as well. So, Vic, before we go on, a introduction about yourself, sir.
Okay. I'm an addiction specialist. I actually sit on a board called APSEC, Association of Professionals Specializing in Addiction Counseling. So I help to certify addiction counselor together with a team of other addiction professionals. I also sit on a board, Singapore Anti-Narcotics Association, SANA, as a board member and also a clinical advisor. My job is also working with clients who have addiction-related issues, be it gambling, be it alcohol or drugs, internet, gaming. So I deal with all addictions, and I also teach at the university, basically to counseling students on addictions related. It's a module on addictions. So I do cover a lot of things when it comes to addictions.
Thank you, Vic. Thank you for the humble introduction about yourself. I know there are more about it, but as we go on in our segments, we will definitely get to know you more better. Viewers who are watching this, welcome to join me and our guest speaker, Vic, SB Vic, Viknesan, edition specialist. You will be talking a lot of different segments today, and hopefully we can shine some light on whoever's watching this. If you do have a question, type it out in the comment section, and then definitely we will engage Vic to share his expertise. If you're watching this, press the share and like button. Like I said earlier, we will never know when and where this video will reach out to for people who may need this help. All right, so no names will be mentioned here. If you do have a question, you can also send me your messages directly to me, and I will read them out without your name. So it's all P&A, anonymous. We are just staying very professional. All right. So wait, before we go into the topic today, all right, which of course dealing with addictions, I'm going to be very, very witty here. All right. Sleeping. We are sleeping 8 hours every day. Is that addiction?
Sleeping 8 hours every day. I mean, it's good if you get 8 or 9 hours of sleep. Yeah, that's not an addiction. Yeah, I want to make things a bit more clearer, lah. I take this quotation from this person called Storm King. Yeah, I don't know who he is, but it's a very good quotation. Yeah, and he says, "A passion adds value to one's life. An addiction takes it away." Yeah. So when we talk about addiction, I know some people talk about workaholism. Some talk about addiction to the swimming pool, addiction to this. I don't want to use the word addiction in a very loose way. Yeah, it has a very destructive connotation. Addiction is something that is quite bad. So, addiction, like I said, takes away your sleep quality. It affects your thinking. It affects your focus. It causes a lot of problems in one's social, occupational, and relationship. And we're talking about moderate to severe issues. Yeah, it's not something simple. Whereas, you're talking about sleep, spirituality, wellness. This energizes the body. Addiction de-energizes the body and causes a lot of problems, and it messes up the body. Yeah, it does the opposite.
So, of course, it's great startup right now. We talked about this addiction. I mean, of course, sleep is a well-being for us. It's not something addicted. But can we use addiction or addictive? I'm addicted with my work. I addicted with my passion or my hobby. Can we use that word? Because stigma, there is addiction. You are addicted. When we hear addicted, means you're something using substance or alcohol or smoking, those kind of stuff. But can we use addiction or addicted to positive stuff?
I mean, when we use the word addiction, there's usually a negative connotation. When you say, doing your work, or let's put, for example, Joseph Schooling. He swims a lot. It adds a passion to his life. He won the Olympic medal. Now, I don't want to say that just because you have a passion for something, that's an addiction. Addiction is usually associated with something bad, that is taking the quality away from you, the quality of life, taking your passion away. So, we are passionate about a lot of things. I know, once you do a lot of fitness and training, and you're passionate about that, and you spend a lot of time in the gym, right?
Yes, sir.
Eating and that's your passion and that's your love, But I'm not going to say just because one spends a lot of time on the gym and he does a lot of, exercise, he's addicted to the gym, or he's addicted to, because it's adding quality to your life, it's adding fitness, you're interacting with people, you are helping people to keep fit. You also, I've seen a lot of your podcasts and some of the work you do. You also sort of encourage spirituality. You do a lot of volunteer work. So, what you are doing is you're adding quality, and you're adding, a lot of, doing a lot of, having a lot of passion in your work, and you're adding quality to your life and other people's life. And addiction takes you away from that. It isolates you, it creates problems for you. It has a negative impact on you and others around you. It has a rippling effect. So when we use that word addiction, it's always connected to something negative, not something positive.
Right. Vic, I know we're not even jumping into the questions yet. We're still trying to warm up a bit, right? So if you're watching this, please do share and like. Yeah, Vic, you're saying something?
No. I said, please continue. Yes.
Okay. So because we just explore, right? We dissect, right? So now I'm going to dissect a little bit, right? So addiction, of course, it doesn't seem to be in a very positive. Shall I take it? Shall I say taking it in a very positively view? But is it because of obsessive? I am obsessive over a certain thing and is addicted. Is that why the word addiction becomes very negative?
Addiction, I think, is taken from a Latin word, addicria, to be a slave to something. Yeah, that's where it
Right.
originally was associated from that Latin word, to be a slave. So you become basically a slave to drugs, a slave to
Mm.
alcohol. Yeah, it dominates your life. It takes you
Right.
away from quality, the people in your life. So that is what it is. It's not something good. It dominates you. It controls you. It becomes your master. Yeah.
You know what, Vic? You're already a warm up. You are an experienced speaker, so you don't need warm up. But in Kopi events, it's always, coming from a fitness background, I always do warm up first, right? It's very important, no, to prevent injuries. So we are just doing one more warm up exercises before we jumping into
Sure.
the question, right? I have done over 400 over videos, humbly, and thank you. You
Mhm.
are also one of them with your expertise. Whenever I talk with the endocrinologist or cardiologist or any kind of a profession in the health industry, I always ask them, what is another word or another profession will you call it in a very simplest term? The cardiologist always say, oh, I'm a plumber. The endocrinologist says, oh, I'm a scientific researcher. Those different names in a very witty way. Yourself as a counselor or you are an addiction specialist, what do you call yourself as?
I use the word, I'm the lighthouse. Yeah. My clients are the ship, and they have especially those who are addicted or those who have mental health problems. They have a ship that has very limited vision. They only can see a certain angle, like horse blinders. I'm I'm more of a lighthouse. I light up the area. I'm a neutral person. I'm able to give them other perspectives of looking at their problems. I'm not clouded by their circumstances. And so, I show them which is the safe part that they can take and which is the very destructive part or dangerous part. But at the end of the day, my job is not to tell them what to do. My job is to empower them to make decisions in their life. So because it's their ship and their problem, they take responsibility for it. I show them, here's the rocks, here's the clear part. You want to take the clear part, there's going to be benefit. You continue to hit into the rocks like the Titanic, you're going to sink. Yeah. So I think I do that. And I'm also what I use the word grease. I'm the extension of the client. I'm the grease in between to try to help the client or empower the client or draw what we call intrinsic motivation to get the client to consider doing certain things with their problems or mental health or addiction problems, so they can progress forward. So I see myself as a bit of the grease to help them through, when they're stuck or they're stuck in the mud, like a car or like a four-wheel drive stuck in the mud, I help to sort of help them, get out of it. But
Vic, that's very beautiful. I heard today the beautiful word that I've heard today, the lighthouse. To prevent big vessels coming. I mean, of course, as a human, right? You are guiding them, and what you said so beautifully. Don't come to the rocky areas. That is a path. That is a light. So you are shining light. You are a guide. You are a lighthouse. Beautiful, beautiful, Vic. I think you are really warmed up at 100%. So we don't need any more warm up. Beautiful. For viewers who are watching this, we are engaging a great conversation. We're dealing with addiction with my guest speaker, SB Vic, well known as SB Viknesan. It's an addiction specialist. We are at Kopi events in all social media platforms. If you're watching this, press the share button, press the like button. Obviously, it's going to get more traffic, but it's also important that it may reach out to any people that may need the light, which is the lighthouse. Vic. I'm going to jump into the question right now.
sure.
We talked about this addiction, the word, we dissected into it, and whether it can be positive, a little bit more positive, but it doesn't seems to be because it comes under, you are slave to it. I mean, of course, sorry for the word that I'm using, slave, but of course, looks like it. You are being more controlled. But can you explain what addiction is and how it differs from a habit? We broke it down, but habit and addiction, is it a thin line?
Okay, I mean, again, I'm gonna use simple words here, layman language. Yeah, if I look at addiction, I look at it as a chronic, progressive, relapsing disorder, lah. In the medical field, we look at it as a disorder, lah. Yeah, and I compare it to somebody who has diabetes. if you have this condition diabetes, let's say you develop the condition diabetes, and once you have this condition diabetes, you watch your diet, you keep yourself healthy. They go for training with you once, and they learn how to regulate their blood sugar level by eating keeping the right kind of diet. They can keep the condition under control. But somewhere along the line, they just simply don't monitor their sugar level. They whack what they like. They overdo things. They don't take care of their health. All the complications from diabetes will hit them hard, yeah. And addiction is like that. Once you develop this condition, if you go for treatment, you get the right kind of help. You go for support groups, or you go for help with somebody who's an addiction specialist. You can keep the condition in control, And addiction, before I even go to habits, addiction, has a moderate to severe impact on the individual's life. It can affect their focus. It can, and I'll talk about that, the changes of brain chemistry. And it messes up the individual's life. It also causes problems for the family as well. We don't just say this is an individual disease. We say this is a family disease as well. It has a rippling effect on family members and significant others in this person's life. So moderate to severe impact on their social life, their occupational life, can be education, and can be other aspects of their life. Whereas a habit, it's a bit annoying. I know. If I touch my armpit or I dig my nose, that's it can be annoying. It can be a bit irritating. Can cause a little bit of misunderstanding or problems with your family, but it's not to be destructive. It's not major dysfunctions. And a habit, you make a conscious effort, you can actually change it, because it's not something that is not easy to change. You make a conscious effort, I'm digging my nose and I should be careful of that, use a tissue paper. But addiction is a very different thing altogether. There are, when we talk about whether it's behavioral addiction or we talk about substance addiction, there is a lot of changes in the brain chemistry. It's not something that no one said, when I grow up, I want to become an addict.
Bingo.
No one said that. It's something, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't have, alamak, today I got addiction. It doesn't happen that way. It is a progressive disorder. They have problems. Some start to abuse on whether alcohol or drugs, or even go into behavioral problems like gambling, or the internet. And, there are some risk factors that happen. Risk factors, when I say risk factors, family issues, genetics, family members have addictions or other mental health issues. They have very serious mental health issues. Isolated, they go through poverty, and all these risk factors add up to putting an individual at risk of developing addictions. There are also protective factors. You have good mentors, mentors like you, for example, they are able to seek help quickly. They know that if I got problems, I handle it in a healthy way. If you have more protective factors, your chances of developing addiction is reduced. So it's all about risk and protective factors. But that being said, addictions can happen to an individual at a very early stage in their life, or it can happen to an individual at a later stage of their life. Maybe they retire, friends pass away, they go through depression, aging. Also, we go through physical and mental health issues, and addictions can also develop then. So what I'm trying to say is, not everyone who abuses on substances, or not everyone who abuses on who goes heavily into gambling or has some problems, or who abuses on alcohol will develop addiction. Some will, some won't. So I hope that sort of makes sense.
So I'm going to stop you here for a while, Vic.
Sure.
I think I very serious question here right now. So I can say I'm addicted to ice cream, or can I say I have a habit of eating ice cream?
I mean, you can say you have I don't want to use the word passion.
Yeah.
You love ice cream.
Okay.
You love ice cream, but many of us love ice cream.
Yes,
there are some who don't like ice cream. But ice cream, as long ice cream. If you eat too much ice cream, it's not good. Your sugar level.
Exactly.
Go up.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say that ice cream has the same effects as illicit drugs, or even use coffee or even alcohol on the brain. It makes you feel good. Sugar has addictive potential.
Yeah.
But it's the effects that's more important. So that's why I don't like to use that word addiction in a very loose way. But yes, the sugar level, there is addictive potential, but I don't want to cleanly use the word addictions.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. Vic, we as we engaging more, and dissecting into the whole area of addiction as well. And of course, you said it very clearly, and I'm sure viewers are watching this probably will agree also that addiction and habits are totally two different stuffs. Even the ice cream analogy that I used also explain it so clearly, right? It's kind of a thing that we I wouldn't say it's evolved, but it's something that is the chemical that within us, or is it a character or behavior? That's what we're going to go into the next one.
Mhm.
But it also plays in a very important part, what we call it the mind, we call it the brain, we call it the CPU, central unit in our body. There's so many things that happens at the same time, where the heart is pumping, liver is working, kidney is
Mhm.
working, the brain is functioning. The CPU, central processing unit, what is the behavior, Vic? What is exactly is happening? What is exactly happening? Why are we addicted in the impact of the brain?
Okay, that's a very good question. Yeah, and what goes on in the you talked about electrical wiring and wiring, lah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the neurologist or even a cardiologist to control electrical
yep,
wiring,
yep,
heart and all
yeah,
that. Yeah, our body is not just about water, and it's not just the brain that's working like that. There are a lot of natural chemicals in our body to prepare us for danger, to prepare us to sleep, to help sedate us, to keep us alert. And without these chemicals, the human beings won't survive, lah. Yeah. For example, if Mike Tyson is coming into the ring, and you see your adrenaline will shoot up. Yeah, your body will tense up because all these chemicals are preparing you for danger. Yeah, a rabbit when it sees the eagle, the rabbit will pee to lighten itself and it'll run. There's a burst of energy. A bear during hibernation mode, because during winter it can't go and catch fish because the lakes are all frozen. It has to sleep. Its heart rate slows down, and all this, there are neurotransmitters or chemicals in the body that are at play for the survival of the species. Yeah, to motivate us to do certain things, survival of species. So what is addiction rate? Addiction is, and I give you an example of illicit drugs. Our
right.
say for example, your favorite. You mentioned ice cream, like you like ice cream, right? Yeah. So say for
Yeah,
example, you love ice cream, char kway teow ice cream. Now when you look at your ice cream, when you open up the wrapper, when you taste the ice cream, a lot of chemicals are being released. One of the chemicals that's being released is called dopamines. Yeah, dope is pronounced dopamines, and this is what we call a motivating chemical or feel good chemical. Yeah, and when you eat ice cream, it feels good, it tastes good. What happens next? You continue the behavior again, right? You eat
yeah.
ice cream. Yeah,
You don't know how to stop. you know
yeah, but you know the taste. Your memory has registered it. Wonderful experience. The dopamine releases and tells you that's wonderful, the pleasure. Yeah, and your emotions are also riding lah. Wow, nice. And so the next time you eat ice cream, or even durian, yeah, and for example, sex also is pleasurable activity. So that's why you will continue the behavior, the survival of human race. Yeah, you go running, you feel good. You do a lot of training in the gym, and when you train your guys and all, they
yeah,
feel good, right, after training.
yes,
Yeah, that whole endorphins are kicking in your natural opiates. So your body has all these natural chemicals. I call it natural drugs already there for your survival, for sleep, to keep you awake. You want to go for your 9 hour sleep or 8 hour sleep, also your body there needs to be chemical changes. And like your heart and like your blood pressure, it adapts to the environment. Yeah, your heart rate goes down or goes down up depending on the situation environment. And these chemicals also are very delicate balance. Yeah, they control not only they control motivation, they control mood. The dopamine I talked about also controls
yeah,
movement. Some areas, if the dopamines are not going, you can there's risk of Parkinson's and all the other stuff. And they can also control certain psychotic behaviors. Also imbalances can create problems. So what
right,
drugs do actually? They go in. They are like a skeleton key. They go into the system, they modify this dopamine release. So while I eat that ice cream and I say, wow, it's nice, the next time when I have a craving for ice cream, I'm going to eat it. But I'm not going to sacrifice my work. I'm not going to sacrifice other aspects of my life just to eat ice cream. But what drugs do is they modify the system, they flood the system with dopamines, yeah, and your body says, wow, there's this feeling I never felt before, and your memory registers it. It's there, yeah. And you want to continue to have this feeling because it's not a normal feeling. And if you continue to use the drugs. I'm not saying that straight away that you use drugs, you become addicted, yeah. But over time, you use, your body gets adjusted to it. Then it will dominate your life, yeah, because
Right.
it changes the whole chemistry. Your threshold for pleasure also will change. You will need
Mhm.
more and more stimulation to get the same kind of pleasures, because your body also has something called receptors. When chemicals are released, there's a receptor stimulates. You get the receptors get stimulated by the chemical, and you feel good, lah. But once you go and modify this whole system, you play with Mother Nature. Mother Nature is going to come back with a vengeance. So
Right.
what it does is, drugs is, it modifies this whole system. It changes the way you feel pleasure. It can distort the way you look at things, you feel, you smell, yeah. And that's what drugs do. They are like a master key that goes in and modifies the system. And the damage it does once you're addicted, yeah, it's a long term kind of damage, and it's not normal anymore. And to get a normalcy back, you need to stop using, and you will never go back to, once you are addicted, you'll never go back to pre-addictive days. But you can get
So,
better. The can get better.
very interesting, Vic. I mean, as we explored, right? Certain of the mental health expert over the years, we talked with neurologists, neuroscientists, and so on and so forth. And with your theory that you're also explaining, even though we can come out from it somehow or other, the body is a clever mechanism, right? And it's very surprising to see how it works in such a phenomenal way, that a body still requires that, the memory, right? Or we call it the muscle memory. But the CPU cannot be reset or cannot be reboot, like a
The C,
reset.
uh, okay, the CPU will never be what it was before, yeah. But the CPU can things can improve. We like to use this word neuroplasticity, where over time even a pickle brain can sort of become unpickled, but it will never totally be what it was before. And I say this because even when someone stays clean for many years, down the line, if he faces unforeseen circumstances, he gets overconfident, even 10 years or 15 years from now, if they can fall back to their addictions again.
Mm.
So we always use this word recovering person. We never use this word called recovered. It's not like you're
Okay.
cured,
Wow. So very, very interesting word that you explained. It's recovering, not recovered.
We
Wow.
try not to use the word recovered, because we know anytime down the line, if recovered means you're cured. Yeah. So, but if recovering means that you it's like a diabetic condition, you keep
Right.
it under control. You do the
Right.
necessary things to live, and many diabetics live a very healthy life. They take care of
Mm.
themselves, the spirituality, all the other physical. And you always have to remember this: your physical health and mental health are all interrelated.
Right.
All these chemicals also affect your physical health, they affect your mental health. So you cannot say, I talk about mental health, I don't talk about physical health. You don't just develop addiction like that. There is always
Mm.
a mental health component tied to it. Yeah.
Vic, among all these addiction that you have seen over the years and years, decades and decades of your expertise, I can think of, just throw a couple of addiction. Addiction to sex, addiction to sex, alcohol, smoking, pleasure. Some even addiction to pain. Is there a such things called that addiction to pain? Have you seen like that before?
I mean, I don't want to use that word addiction to pain, but some people get pleasure out of pseudo-masochistic kind of behavior. They go into the behavior compulsively because, yes, it is causing, the brain to release dopamines. Some people, it can develop into a behavioral issue. It can develop into addictions. Yeah, for some, where they go compulsively into it, where, even after consequences, they still continue the behavior. Yeah. So there is, yes, I mean, a lot of behavior that's addictive potential. We also, in a medical world or in the clinical world, we try not to use addiction too loosely, because we have to do a lot of research to make sure that we understand the condition, and we understand, before we call it addiction, it has to meet certain features. You cannot
Right.
just say everything's addiction, because
Addiction,
we
yeah.
yeah, we have to look like things for withdrawals, physical and psychological withdrawals. When you use drugs and you're withdrawing from the drug, because there's a lot of chemistry changes to the body. When you don't have the drug, your body will go through changes or withdrawals. Some of it is psychological, you feel stuck, irritable. Others is physical, you can go into flu-like symptoms depending on the substance you use, or even fits and seizures for alcohol.
Right.
Yeah, alcohol is also a drug, by the way. It's one of the most dangerous drugs. It's on the top of the list, but it's legal. So legal doesn't necessarily mean it's safe.
Right.
But if you drink alcohol in a responsible way, and you don't have all the risk factors, then
Right.
you won't develop an alcohol addiction. But I want to say anything that goes into the brain and changes the brain chemistry is a drug, but not all drugs are addictive, and not everyone is prone to developing addiction because there are a
Right.
lot of protective factors in their life, that would circumvent, or that would sort of reduce the risk of them developing problems.
Mhm. So, Vic, can I ask you this? And in your, like I said, in the many decades of your experiences, among all these addiction, what is? I mean, of course, we're not looking at metrics in terms of accurate number for the stats. No, we are not looking at that. But what is the common addiction in your field? I mean, you have seen that is increasing, or it's been always the out of five. This is always for which addiction is that, Vic?
I mean, I mean, again, the stats keep on changing depending on the
Yeah.
years. Yeah. And unless we do proper research, I don't want to just shoot out any number.
Yeah.
But usually, the one of the most common addictions is substance addiction, which I include alcohol and drugs.
Right.
Yeah. Alcohol and
Okay.
drugs usually is one of the biggest problems. And then, of course, followed by another big one is gambling.
Okay.
Yeah, and then usually followed by either gaming or internet addiction, and also compulsive sexual behavior. But that one's a bit of a gray area because they're still
Okay.
doing a lot of research on compulsive sexual behavior
Right.
to put it under the category of addictions.
Right. Vic, thanks for this, at least the understanding that we know that you shared with us. Society also plays a very important part. The friends, the families around us. And it probably this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't want to approach the lighthouse, shining light to show the protection. But they are worried if they visit, somebody see, they will call them with words and stigma and judgment. I mean, they're still there in Singapore. I mean, in most of the countries, I mean, of course, we don't have stats and all that. We're not going to go there. But people are worried. I don't want to get help because what people may say. But what do you think as a society can address this issue and reduce the stigma surrounding the addiction?
Okay, one of the things I think in Singapore they try to do is have like addiction awareness days. Various addiction related agencies, say like IMH, National Addiction Management Service, Singapore Anti Narcotics Association. There's even an FSC called Rotary FSC Soberize program where they deal with alcohol issues, and We Care Community Services where they deal with all addictions. All these people, and of course, Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, halfway houses, all these agencies come together to try to reduce the stigma. They have Addiction Awareness Day, where they educate the public about addictions. They educate families and individuals who may have the addiction about where to seek help. And I think
Right.
that helps, especially when families get themselves educated about addiction, what it's all about. In the old days, we used to say a leopard cannot change its spots. Yeah. But I have this corny saying, a leopard can choose to change its spot. When I say spot, he can choose to go against his nature and do something different and get help. Yeah, because once
Yeah.
somebody is addicted to it, they are a slave to that, whatever it is, whether substance or behavioral. But they can make a effort to try to change that. Even though they struggle, they can change their spot in terms of changing the way they deal with their problems in a healthy way, going for help, going for treatment. So addiction I always use the word addiction is, even though I say it's not a curable condition, it's a treatable condition. It's like
Okay.
diabetes. You can treat it, and to also answer some of your questions in a way. In many years ago, 20 years ago, not 20 years, 17 years ago, when I asked my university students, who wants to be addiction counselors, it would be in the bottom of the list. Some will say, I want to work with the youth. I want to work with, the elderly. I want to work in the social service with this group of people. I want to work with professionals. Addiction is usually the bottom. The one below it is usually working with terrorists is below that. Who has to work with, So addiction is always seen as no one wants to touch that area. It's a hot spot. Yeah, but now, when I ask my students there, my university students, and they will say, look, I want to do addiction. I have a lot of people coming forward to want to do addictions. And it's a big interest with this generation. So that shift has come there, and that's very heartwarming for me to hear that. Yeah. The other thing, of course, stigma, to break stigma is we have recovery peers, people who have a recovery background. And these recovery peers are like mentors to others struggling with recovery. So now in our arsenal of people that is coming to help, I mean, you have clinicians, addiction specialists, you have social workers, you have psychiatrists, you have doctors, you have the whole array of mental health specialists, community workers. Now you got recovery peers. They are also added to so that's also going to break stigma that these people can change, and now they're contributing back to society. So now the recovery peers are our new arsenal of professionals that are coming forward to help other recovering people. And I think that's wonderful, which you never heard of many years ago.
Never.
Yeah. And recovery peers now, you would see them in MRT stations, and I think Minister Faisal is promoting, recovery and, so, you go to MRT stations, you would see some of the signs there. Sana and Nakada, they have also helped to promote recovery peers.
Perfect.
Nakada, National Council Against Drug Abuse. So a lot of people are coming together with these recovery peers, professionals. We are all coming together to break that stigma. We are all coming together to educate the public about what addiction is about and where the resources available.
Vik, at this point of time, I would like to say this, getting help is never seen as a weakness. Getting help is a sign that you have been the strongest person you can be. So I think the stigma is changing, and you said it very well with a lot of these signs and informations, and people are not that much of stigma. We are evolving. I'm sure we are, because as an educated economy in a country that we are in, we are improving time to time. Vik, I have anonymous person here. She asked you a question. She said, "Hi, Vik. May I ask you something? I am Miss J." Okay, I'm not going to tell the name. How do I spot someone who's addicted by looking at his behavior? Can you please advise?
Okay, that's going to be a very interesting question to answer. While we have some individuals who outwardly will show you that they have problems, for example, they walk intoxicated, they may create problems. You can see physically they look very deteriorated. Or you can smell alcohol. These are just some groups. There are others you cannot see them, like gamblers. I can't test your urine and say it's green, then you are a gambler.
True. Yep.
Yeah, and I want to also say that addiction can affect anybody, from the rich man who owns a jet plane to the cleaner. It doesn't discriminate. Anybody can fall. And while some of them can still function, they may wear a suit and tie, but sometimes they are struggling with it. It's just others, they have gone through the chronic stage. So addiction, we look at it as a spectrum. Some people are early part of the addiction. They are really having a lot of problems, but they may not outwardly or physically look like they have problems. Others are what we call the chronic stage. They go right down to the end where they got physical problems, liver damage. Sometimes you can look at, some of them may be also injecting needle mark. So some of them will show you that they're unwell. They'll give you an inkling that something is wrong. Yeah. Sometimes their behavior also they may have mental health issues. Yeah. Not all have addictions, but sometimes some of them have drug-induced psychosis caused by the drug. So some of them will give away very easily. You can smell, you can see them from the distance, but others you can't. Some of like gambling, for example, I can't tell that, he has a gambling problem just by looking at him. He could look like you and me and have no issues at all. And some alcoholics, like I said, outwardly they look good, but inwardly they're struggling with it. They may have a little bit of shakes, and it's over time that they may deteriorate. So to answer that question, while some of them will display the outward physical symptoms, not all will. And also depends, the sex addiction, for example, you won't see the physical symptoms. Gambling, you won't see the physical symptoms that you substance use, especially those in the chronic side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Vic, for that. Ms. J, I hope that has answered you. Vic, as an individual like myself, I'm going to put myself in, because it's always good to use yourself. It's not that I'm suffering from this, or rather, I'm not having this symptom, but I'm just saying that, right? Pardon my word using suffering. Let's say if I am addicted to sex, all right, and will I be able to know that I am addicted? Well, that needs another person to identify, or if I seek help, or one can realize it. Will there be a significant judgment there? that I can make or anyone can make?
Okay, I think sex addiction. There are some addictions that are not very clear cut. Yeah, sex addiction is one of them. Even in the our medical diagnostic manuals, they are still struggling to put sex addiction as an addiction. They are trying
Right.
to find more ways to get more research done before they even use that word addictions on for
Mhm.
sex. Just
Mm.
because you have a lot of sex doesn't mean you're a sex addict. And just
Right.
because you have affairs doesn't mean you're a sex addict. But you sometimes our guys will know that they have a problem, or other people will notice, whether family members or significant
Mm.
others will notice that their sexual behaviors is getting them into trouble with their social life, occupational life, and it's taking them away from productivity in terms of work or education. They even after all these consequences, they still continue to go into the behavior, and some of them put themselves at risk of STD and other sexually transmitted diseases. Um, I'm not also going to say just because someone visits a sex worker, he's a sex addict. Yeah, there needs to be addictive features there, strong cravings, moderate to severe impact in their life. The withdrawals are usually psychological withdrawals. If I don't go into it, I cannot focus on things. So they
Right.
have to, and all these features need to be clear cut there before we can say that this person most has probably sex addiction. But even that, we have to rule out other things, that they don't have other kinds of mental health disorders, and yeah. Yes, any of us, as long there are human beings, whether in the North Pole or South Pole, somebody will have addiction. Yeah, and but like I said, not everyone will fall into addiction, and some will fall into it maybe at a later stage, some will fall into the earlier stage. But yes, the sex addiction, we have to look at these features and do proper assessments. Yeah, and usually a professional needs to assess it, because you cannot just look at the diagnostic manual or go to the
Mhm.
internet, say okay, he ticks these some of these boxes, so he's a yeah. We have tools, screening tools, to give us a inkling that there may be a problem to refer for help. But usually you need further assessment from a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a doctor, or whoever is a addiction specialist, whether it's a counselor who has training, because they need to tease out certain areas before they say,
Right.
yeah, this is a true blue addiction and needs treatment.
Vic, of course, if someone has been addicted, and if they understands that, whether we just take it as for an example for gambling, right, that can actually ruin the whole family, going into financial problems and situations, and eventually can lead to not addiction, but it can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, so on, so forth. But not only the particular person is going through tough time, but their loved ones as well. I think they go through a lot of issues as well that can go into financial and can go south a little bit more deeper and getting into financial issues as well. But how does addictions impact the individual and the family and the society as well? I mean, of course, we covered about the society in terms of stigma, but in terms of the family, will definitely they will be going through stress, and that can also lead to other segments of them going through under psychological issues. But
Mhm.
how these can be managed as well?
Okay. You brought up a very good question once. We look at addiction not as just an individual problem, it's also a family, we call it a family disorder as well. Because it has you use this word 6 degrees of separation. It has a
Mm.
rippling effect. When somebody in the family is unwell, whoever is associated with this person with addictions or mental health issues, yeah, they will also go through a lot of issues themselves. And it has this rippling effect, whether it's a family member or significant other in this person's life, they will also be affected by it, trying to help that individual. And it also affects the lives of family members, because they also sometimes hide. We have this Asian saying, don't wave your dirty linen outside, yeah, or dirty
Yeah,
laundry
correct. Yeah,
outside.
yeah.
Yeah. And but some of them will keep quiet, they will hide it, they will not, they will isolate from their family functions, they isolate themselves from many other events, because they don't want to talk about it. They keep it in secret. Sometimes, a lot of them family members who go out with their friends and who go out for their usual activities, and they start isolating themselves, or they start focusing so much on the person with the addiction issue that they don't focus on themselves, or they enable the person. For example, gambling. They say, oh, you're going through this problem, here's some money to settle your debt. But they don't tie it to treatment. Yeah. And they don't go for treatment themselves, because the family member will say it's his problem or her problem, it's not my problem. I'm the family member. But what they need to understand is the whole family going into therapy is very important. We should never neglect just we should never just focus on the individual addiction problem. We also have support groups for family members. These support groups are very, very important. I mean, in IMA, they have a family group for gamblers called Game Family. They have a group for problem gamblers called Game. They have a group for substance users called Bridge, and for the family called Bridge Family. Out in the community also, they have family groups, places like One Hope Center, We Care Community Services, SANA, Singapore Anti-Narcotics Association. When we have individual groups for the individual addictions, we also have family groups as well. Yeah, we cannot neglect the family. They are part of the equation. While families are the biggest supporters, they can also become the biggest sabotagers, because if they are not aware and educated how to help their loved ones the right way. I know I had this, for example, this individual, he goes through recovery for his alcoholism, for example. Yeah, he goes through recovery, he goes for support, he goes home, and the wife says, "Wow, you suddenly come back, you want to be part of the family already. Here's some money, go and drink. Yeah, now you want to take on the fatherly role." So sometimes reintegration back to the family is not an easy thing. And so
Right.
that's why we need to educate the family. We need to, sometimes family therapy is necessary to work with the whole family system, and not just the spouse, but also kids are affected by it, whether adult kids or young kids. Everyone is impacted by this. And that's why we work with the whole system, in the family system together with the individual. This is what we call holistic kind of intervention. But how does it impact society? Now, if an individual is addicted to drugs or gambling, or is addict, he becomes less productive to society. He could have been working, he could have done well. If he goes into prison, like, just give an example, he uses illicit drugs, he goes into prison. When he comes out also, he's going to have challenges adjusting back, family adjustments. If he had not used drugs, or he had gone for rehabilitation, and then this person could have gone back into the workforce again and contributed to society. He could have contributed to his family. He could have built a family bond. But um, there is an impact in terms of financial impact to the country when a lot of people have addiction problems, because they become less productive. They are not able to work. A lot of these people, even addicts, recovering addicts or addicts, a lot of them are very skillful. They're very skilled. Some of them have degrees, some of them have a special, but when they are in the addiction, they cannot function.
Okay.
So if it comes to early intervention, if you can intervene early, and nowadays resources are out there in the community where to get help. Yeah, even in the casinos. In the casinos, if you go to a casino, there is always a responsible, we call it a gambling responsible peer, someone who is trained to identify people who may have problems in the casino or even a gambling establishment, and quickly get them to get help. They will have some help resources. So again, we have to understand that addiction impacts society in a very big financial way. It impacts family, it impacts the family members themselves, impacts the individual also acculturating back to society. There are a lot of challenges, and it takes a whole village to come together to work with not just the individual addictions, but also the family, and to help the person reintegrate back, help the family also improve the relationship. Yeah.
Vic, we have a question right now. Sent to the person, and the person actually says, "Yeah, please use my name." Shamin, thank you, Shamin, for your question, which I'm taking it live right now. Hi. I have a question for Vic. How often are addictions a comorbidity, and how do we treat it?
Okay, comorbidity, or we call it a co-occurring disorder, is a very common thing. Usually addiction doesn't just come with addictions alone. There is always a mental health component also tied to it. Yeah. The most common comorbid condition is usually anxiety and depression. The anxiety and depression could be a pre-existing anxiety and depression. I use substances or gambling as a way of coping with my pre-existing anxiety or depression, or that anxiety or depression can be caused by heavy drug use or substance use. And when your body goes through changes, your brain goes through changes, part of the withdrawals or part of the early recovery, you go through anxiety and depression. Yeah, I know it's a very chicken egg question here. And there are also, of course, other conditions that can come up with addiction. For example, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. So we call this the fireman's dilemma. I use this word fireman's dilemma. For individuals with comorbid condition, there's two fires burning. Okay, so you need to deal with the addiction fire. You also need to deal with the mental health fire. You say, if I deal with the mental health issues and I don't deal with addiction issues, the person goes back to using substances, for example, it is going to trigger off his mental health condition.
Right.
You know, if his mental health condition, if his addiction is treated or mental health condition not treated, that mental health condition is going to trigger the person to use substances to cope. So, we need to concurrently work with the individual. One of the things we see is how severe is the addiction and the mental health issues. If both are just as severe, we need to concurrently deal with it quickly. Of course, they need to stay clean first from all substances before you can do other work. And then, of course, there is always the medical doctors and psychiatrists who will come in to whether to do a medical intervention, pharmaco intervention, or to do a detox. And then also there are other professionals that will come in. We have a whole multidisciplinary team of individual psychologists, addiction counselors, psychiatrists, doctors, nurses, you name it, the whole gang, social workers. And so they will come in. And of course, addiction also comes with other individuals who, I'm not saying that everyone who gets into addiction get into legal problems. Some do. Some get into social problems and cause indirectly to addiction. So we may also need to consult a lawyer, a legal clinic. We try to find other professionals to come in. So I think the important thing is when it comes to comorbid condition, they need to concurrently be treated. Unless one is not so severe. For example, if the addiction is more severe than the mental health issue, we treat the addiction first, then we go to the mental health issue. But we need to make sure that these other areas are also covered. Because if you don't deal with those issues, for example, someone does well in recovery, he goes out there, he still has settled the bills. Things are not going to be like Disneyland, everything's going to be wonderful. He's still going through his early recovery. We like to use this term called PAWS, post-acute withdrawal syndrome. It's not an actual medical syndrome. What it says in early recovery, your sleep will be affected, your mood will be affected, you will take time to adjust to recovery. So all these things also, we need to have individuals coming in to help. And advance, like you, for example, you do a lot of wellness, fitness. And also, that's also another important component of recovery. Recovery is not just a detox. Detox is a detox. But when they go out there, urges and cravings to use drugs, people can irritate them, or there'll be triggers like the pub, or triggers like the casino. There are going to be a lot of triggers out there in society. So they're going to have challenges. And so we need the right professionals to come in, to intervene and to handle not just the comorbid conditions, but to handle other issues related to this person, whether directly or indirectly from the addictions.
Thank you, Vic. And thank you, Shamin, for the questions. A lovely question. I hope Vic has answered that very nicely. Thank you so much. For viewers who are watching this, we are live right now in all social media, literally all Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify as well. So I got to take a long breath and finish up everything. We are not yet in Twitter yet. Eventually we will be in. For now, I think this is the social media that we are in. We have engaged almost about 50 over minutes, Vic. Can you believe it? We only finished half of the session, but we're not going to hold you back. But with guest speaker SB Vic, we call it Viknesan, addiction specialist, spanning with us almost about 53 minutes of his expertise with us. Thank you. If you're a viewer watching this, please press the share and a like button. It may reach out to many people who may need that help anonymously. And of course, eventually, Kopi events will be more well known to people out there in the social media, because our own aim is to bring more speakers like Vic himself to Kopi events and share his expertise as well. So, Vic, now the next question that I'm going to ask you, all right, it's what we call the random rapid questions for yourself. So you got to quickly answer. You cannot think. There's no long answers. Very quick one, okay?
Very quick answers, okay.
Favorite food?
Favorite food? My favorite, char kway teow.
Favorite teacher?
Favorite teacher? Damn, I got a lot of favorite teachers. Favorite, damn, okay. My mom is a teacher, so, she's one of my favorite person in the world.
Okay, so that's okay. That's we're going to move on. Your hobby?
Well, I love the gym, and I love to, I used to rescue rabbits, so abandoned rabbits. So that's one of my hobbies. And also, of course, my other hobby is food blogging and going to different restaurants with friends and family.
Okay, I will come back to the rabbit question after. Let's go into the next one. Do you love your job?
Oh yes, I love my job. I have a passion for it, and I love it. And helping my clients, and also part of I have multiple jobs also, teaching and so helping others to understand addiction. So yes, I love it. It's a passion.
Do you get stress?
Yes, I do get stressed. That's why I always learn from other people how to de-stress. I go to the gym, or I find time to socialize, take breaks, and hang out with my family. It's very very important that clinicians take care of their own self care. We are telling people to take care of their self care, but we're not taking care of ours. So we better take our own advice as well.
Last question, but not the last one, not the least.
Do you love coffee? Is it?
Yep.
Yes, I love coffee. I love coffee and milk. Coffee is one of my favorite drinks. It can be addictive. Yeah,
Okay.
so at night I drink decaf coffee, but I'm a coffee lover since the day I was 5 years old. I was drinking coffee.
Okay. So now coming back to your hobby, you mentioned you rescue rabbits, and honestly speaking, rabbits are like Superman or the Flash. Boom, they sprint. Boom. How do you rescue them?
I mean, I kept rabbits when I was very young.
Okay.
10 years old, and at that time, in the 70s, we didn't have neutering and all that, so they multiplied. So my father used to use all those old wooden fish crates, and we used to use it as a hutch to keep the rabbits. And we had a backyard. I stayed in the terrace house. But then after that, when I got married, my wife is born a year of the rabbit, and I love rabbits, and so I helped out the House Rabbit Society because I adopted a few rabbits from them. There are two rabbit rescue groups. One is called House Rabbit Society Singapore. The other one is called Bunny Wonderland. And so I got involved in giving talks about not abandoning rabbits, the difference between wild rabbits and domesticated rabbits. And on rare occasions, I help to rescue rabbits. Of course, the hard work was done by the rescue rabbit guys. There are a lot of them there, very dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they did all the hard work. I just helped here and there in my small way, and I adopted some rabbits here and there. And I still have one rabbit at home. Of course, some of them passed on, and I still have one rabbit, and I have still this passion to continue to fight for, advocate for, not for people not abandoning pets, not just rabbits, but dogs, cats, and other pets.
Okay, Vic, thanks for that. At least we know you are a rescuer, rescuing rabbits. But in Singapore, is there any situation where rabbits have been saved or rescued or
House Rabbit Society rescues quite a lot of rabbits, especially as well as Bunny Wonderland. So there are a lot of volunteers who go out there to rescue rabbits and of course there are also various other pet rescue groups as well. And yes, people do abandon it as they take it they buy it. It looks very cute. After a while, they get bored with it and then they dump it. And then we should consider the pets as part of our family members.
Vic, I'm going to take one question right now. In fact, two questions. First one by Junita. Thank you, Junita, for the question. If the person is addicted and don't want to go for counseling.
Okay, if the person is addicted and doesn't want to go for counseling, if we have opportunity to work with the family members, if the family members can get help for themselves, that would be good. We can always advise the family member, if your loved one doesn't want to get help, at least you get help for yourself. And the other thing, of course, sometimes families, they do what is called I don't want to use this word, but it's called an intervention. The intervention is basically you educate the family on how to encourage your loved ones without shaming, blaming them, to seek help, to say how your behavior affects the rest of us in the family and how we love you, but we don't love your relationship. I separate the person with the addictions. We love you, but we don't love your relationship with the addictions. And it's affecting us. We want to support you, but we are struggling with some of the things that's happening. So we can come with you to get help. Hopefully that this individual is open to seek help. But if they are not, then the family member will seek help for themselves first. Yeah.
Thank you, Vic. And also for all the viewers who are watching this, we are going to take only the last two more questions. If you have, please send the questions to the comment section, which then I will take it with Vic. Apart from that, Vic, I'm just going to ask one more last segment on the question itself. We talked about the family. We talked about addictions versus habits. We talked about how it can impact the brain and how it works in such a way that, in simplest way you explain. You also mentioned about, the guiding light. You are the lighthouse. That was phenomenally talked about. Can we share some success stories of individuals who have overcome addiction, Vic?
Of course, there are so many recovering guys out there, recovery peers out there who are doing very well and contributing back to society. They have uh, created an impact in society. There's a guy called Thomas Koh, who's a counselor. He's a counselor in NAMS. There is another guy called Sufian, who's a recovery peer, who is now working closely with prison services. There are a lot of other recovering peers out there. There's one guy who opened 18 Chefs, Benny Sito. There are some famous, well-known one, Matthew, Bruce Matthews, and there are so many recovering people out there. I also know of recovering individuals who are counselors. I have a friend called Ranjit Singh. He used to be operations manager in helping an halfway house, and now he is in NAMS as a counselor. So there are a lot of recovering individuals I do hang out with as friends. Yeah. They also teach me to understand other recovering guys better. And I have seen them put a lot of hard work in to work their recovery. They don't just go out there and preach to others. They take care of their recovery first. Yeah, they take care of their wellness. They work on, and it's not just about stopping your addiction. It's about working with yourself. We talk about spirituality, working with your self-development to be a better person. Not when I say spirituality, not necessarily I mean religion. Talk about wellness, goodness, and some of the things you do once, in your work. That's also part of spirituality. Physical fitness, taking care of your health, clicking with people who are good for your recovery, learning to deal with the problems in a healthy way, keeping away from toxic characters and people who used to encourage you to use substances. So all these are very important components, and there are a lot of recovering stories. One of them, I'll just give you an example. Thomas Koh, there is a clip called Dear Gabby. He talks about his daughter. You go YouTube, you type Dear Gabby, Gabby, Thomas Koh, you will see his recovering story. Another one is called Ruben Narain. You will see his recovering story as well. Reuben Narain, Narain. So you can find some of these recovering guys and their stories on the net, the YouTube.
Thank you, Vic. I'm going to take the last question from this person. Please do not mention my name or my FB address. Of course, I won't. Hi, Vic. Great explanation on the addiction part, where you talked about habits. You talk about addiction. How do I put myself into these two spectrum if I'm overdoing a particular thing which is not supposed to?
Okay, that's a very tough question to answer because I don't know what the thing is. I don't want to know. But but anything that is destructive, I think the having that self-awareness is important. If you know that it's a problem, seek help, talk to friends and family that would give you sound advice. Yeah. If necessary, also, nowadays you can search a lot of things. There are a lot of resources out there where if that particular problem, there is some kind of help available. Go and Google it. We Google a lot of stuff to order coffee, order items, but we don't go and Google a lot on mental health, or resources on mental health that we can utilize. So go and Google and find out resources that can be helpful. I hope whatever it is, if it's something very destructive or gets you into trouble, then best is to quickly get some help. I think that's the best advice I can give you.
Thank you, Vic, for that, and I hope that has answered you. So and so, okay. Vic, I think we have already come to the end of our podcast, which is already 1 hour and 4 minutes. I think there's still more questions that we can talk about, but definitely we're going to come back on the season 2 or the part 2 for the next season that's going to come in on addictions. But of course, it's a very fruitful session that even I myself have get the knowledge from you, especially the word that you said, very beautiful, that captures my heart, which is a shining light, or the lighthouse, which is a beautifully said. I'm sure our listeners and viewers also will agree to that. And guiding the way, showing where's the rocks are, and not to be heading towards that. But apart from all these, Vic, I mean, is there something that you want to tell all our viewers, the tip of the iceberg, that they should be taking this as a mantra? I mean, of course, there's no mantra or magical word for every particular question, but of course, that suits ourselves and get help. Self-help is the most important thing one can do for for ourselves, right? That is the best help that you can ever get. Do something for ourselves. What will your tip of iceberg be?
I mean, again, if I understood you correctly once, I think your personal self care is very important. Surround yourself with people who energize you. Connect with resources like I say, going to the gym or things that help you de-stress. Find people that will help. Who can be mentors to you, or who can guide you or give you some wisdom that you could listen to and see whether you want to take that feedback and improve yourself. Always, we are always a work in progress. We try to be a better version of ourselves. So, take care of your physical health, take care of your mental health, don't neglect it. And, if you surround yourself with good people and you keep yourself physically healthy and mentally healthy, that's important now because we all go through challenges in life, all of us, regardless. And I think we are blessed if we can surround ourselves, or we will be blessed if we surround ourselves with good people who are there to help us and we help them and, make a better place.
Thank you, Vic. Thank you so much for spending your 1 hour and 6 minutes with us.
Thank you,
And
Vance. I appreciate you calling me here today to talk about addictions, a very passionate topic of mine.
and definitely you're going to come back for the part two, right?
Oh, if you invite me back, yes.
Yes, it's obviously, because we have not finished here. We still have so many questions to talk about. It can be a very dry subject, but I think viewers who are watching this, whoever's watching right now, I'm sure you have benefited from these podcasts. It will be at Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so you can listen to it anytime you want to. Or if you want to reach out to Vic, he's in social media as SB Viknesan. He's an addiction specialist. So you can reach out to him. I'm sure he will give you his expertise as well, or to book a counseling
Can I
session.
just add one thing once?
Yeah.
There's this for those counselors or clinicians, whether psychiatrists or who are interested to become addiction specialists. There is a board called APSEC, Association of Professionals Specializing in Addiction Counseling. Of course, you need your basic behavioral qualifications like psychology or counseling or psychiatry or mental health, and you work with those with recovering people with addictions. This certification will help you with your competency. Yeah, so just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you, Vic. And also, we already have some viewers already saying that you should come back for more for parts. Junyan, thank you, Junyan. And Sarah, Mark Kuchin. Yeah, Mr. Vic, we need part two. So there you get all your encouragement there as well, Vic. So thank you so much, Vic. Is there anything else you want to say, Vic, before we end the podcast and then come back for part two in the near future?
Thank you for this. I hope there are more people who are going to volunteer their services out there to help those with mental health issues and those with addiction issues. We need more volunteers. Yeah, I'm not just going to say addictions alone, but also for mental health. And it makes a big difference to people who are suffering from mental health addiction issues, to get help from others who are there to listen to them and to guide them through difficult periods.
Thank you, Vic. Stay connected, and we definitely have to do the Kopi with Vance, real Kopi.
Yes.
Right, very soon, okay? All right, Vic. Thank you so much, and we will catch up real soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vic.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and viewers, listeners. So that is Vic, well known as Viknesan, addiction specialist, who spent almost about 1 hour and 10 minutes on a Wednesday, where you should be resting, you should be doing his important stuff or spending more time with family. But he have dedicated his 1 hour of his precious time with us after a long day work and sharing a lot of information. I benefited from these podcasts. Every time when I conduct a podcast, I learn lots of stuff. I'm sure you are also learning, but your sharing plays a very important part, because just I myself will not be able to reach out to many people. This piece of information that someone needs to hear, that it can only reach out through social media, or someone who may never get help because of things that we talked about, like stigma and judgments and so on and so forth. So do share and like it, and it may reach out to many, many more people in the upcoming months and years. Because in social media, anything you share, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It goes to the public. And that is why we have to be very cautious what we are sharing in social media. All right. Having said that, I'm going to take my leave, and every Wednesday, 9 p.m., Kopi with Vance. Definitely, I'm not going to change it. Water with Vance. Coffee is still my favorite, but just that hydrating. I'm sure you are hydrating as well. Climate change is a real thing. Nowadays, temperature is almost going, what, 38, 37, 38, 39. I think we can fry an egg on a very witty part. Your underwear, if you wash and put it on top of the car, you don't need to put on top of the car. Just put it on the floor. After 10 minutes, you can just tear like a paper. The amount of heat and humidity that we are facing right now is so crazy. We just have to be a little bit more kinder, start showing love, and let us do a little bit of caring and sharing, and be more conserve, no, more passion about where we live in the world. Then only it makes a huge difference. Everybody have to play the part, right? If not, Mr. Sun is going to shine us even more brighter, and there's no much of a cooling system in the earth. All right, so catch you around next Wednesday at 9 p.m. This is your host Vance. Till then, adios amigos.